The Mercedes strategy in Abu Dhabi 2021 was terrible. I'm not talking about the last 5 laps. That was fine. They calculated, I say calculated, they looked at the data and from that made the prediction that that race was going to end behind the safety car, which is what it should have done. So there wasn't an issue with those last 5 laps. The problem, which made the entire race far more difficult than it ever should have been, was their strategy calls. So what you see on screen, you see the starting grid forming up for the start of Abu Dhabi. You see Max on what is the pole position side, the side of the track which is supposed to be cleaner, supposed to be grippier. You see Max Verstappen on soft compound tyres, which are supposed to be the grippiest, the fastest ones, but they wear out the quickest. Lewis is on the medium compound tyre, so not as fast, not as grippy, but should last you longer. What we see is Lewis get the better start, and by the first corner we get this. There you go. Smokes him off the line, nails him into the first corner. Not even close. Okay, not even close. Not even the chance of Verstappen taking out Hamilton at that first corner. Okay, it has to be turn 6 at that. Oh no, it is turn 6 where Max tries to effectively take him out. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is going to be the Mercedes strategy. And to take you through that, I'm going to take you onto data view. So, data view, what is that showing us at the moment? We've literally just started the race. So we look down this column here where it's the tyre compounds. And you see in Lewis Hamilton in the first thing, where I'm trying to wave my cursor, it's yellow with an M for medium compound tyre. Then Verstappen, Norris, Perez, Sainz. Bottas is also on the mediums. Then Leclerc on the soft. So they're all the ones with the red are on the soft compound tyre. Yellows are mediums and white is the hard compound tyre. So, knowing what we are told, and again this is the information that we are told that we have to believe. If you work in the sport, maybe you know otherwise. Maybe you have access to information that we don't have access to. And this is why this video is opinion based and not fact based. There is a difference. Some of you will understand that. The more knowledgeable and scientific of you that are watching this will understand that. Okay? Others think your opinion is more valuable than facts. You don't seem to understand the difference. Because what I don't have access to is actual data. I don't have access to actual tyre wear for each of those tyre compounds, for Lewis Hamilton's car, for that specific setup, doing the lap speeds that Lewis Hamilton was continually doing, relative to the decreasing fuel load and how that was impacting tyre wear. All I have is generalities. I don't have specifics. So I can only draw the conclusions that I'm making from generalities, and therefore it is opinion. It has its limitations. However, we are told soft compound tyre, grippiest, doesn't last very long. Medium compound tyre, mid-level of grip, mid-level of wear. Hard compound tyre, lowest grip, but lasts the longest. Okay, so using those principles, using those generalities, knowing that the fuel load of the car starts high and decreases, you factor all this in and you can make a strategy judgment call. If you have access to the information that they should be compiling during the free practices with the long runs and the short runs and all this that they do, you can make much more accurate calculations. Some of us, again, realise that and are capable of doing that, but you need the data to be able to do so. So I'm going to make generalities, and I'm going to do it from the perspective of what I saw real time and what I was saying real time when watching this race, with the limited information that I had. but this is still what I would have done during the race, and this is why I would have done it. So these are the tyre compounds that they started on. Hamilton on the mediums, Verstappen's on the soft. What that says to me is that Hamilton can go longer. Hamilton should be able to go longer because them soft compound tyres should be burning out sooner than those mediums. That is straight away the mind that I'm in, saying Hamilton should be able to run a longer first stint. Exactly how much longer, I didn't know. But that's the sort of information you need to know when you are doing your free practice sessions to work out your tyre duration. You need to know what your lifespan of each of them tyres is going to be when you're working out your strategy. Okay, but from the outset, you think on medium tyres, Hamilton should be able to run longer in that first stint. If you run longer in that first stint, if you're only doing a one stopper, on your second stint, then what you can probably do is have more tyre life left at the end of your stint because you're doing less laps on it. So it's actually to your advantage to run longer in the first session, the first section of your race if possible. So what do we then see? We see by lap 14, the last place runner, Mick Schumacher, who started on soft, has already pitted for hards. Is that going to indicate that the soft compound tyre is reaching the end of its lifespan? And we see then Verstappen pit. So lap 14 of 58, Verstappen changes from soft compound tyres onto hard compound tyres, dropping him from second to fifth. And if you then look at that interval now, so that brings him out 28 seconds behind Hamilton. If we go pre-pit stop and take it back a little bit, let's take it back to where they were last on track. Verstappen was 6.2 seconds behind on lap 13. Hamilton was beating him on what should theoretically be a slower tyre. The medium should be slower than the soft, and Hamilton's built up a lead of 6.2 seconds. Verstappen pits. The medium should be faster than the hard, right? So Hamilton has built up 6.2 seconds. Verstappen pits, and Verstappen then comes back out on track. Where are we? Nearly there. There. No. It's still showing 6.2. It's not gone through the timer sector. There he is. Back out on track, 28 seconds. Hamilton is still on the mediums. He's 28 seconds ahead on medium compound tyre. You would think that that tyre isn't burning up in the same way that the soft is. Again, I don't know, because based on that fuel load, based on the speed with which Hamilton is lapping at, again, the relative to the downforce levels of his car, the manner he's driving in, I don't know the tyre wear on that medium. However, given the information that we have been given, that medium tyre should last longer than softs. So what do we then see? Well, all we need to do is chunk this forward by a few lots of 10 seconds and we'll see it. Look at where generally the soft compound runners are relative to the medium compound runners are in this race. So it shows you what Hamilton's doing on medium compound tyres. But then, lap 15, the very next lap, Mercedes shit themselves and bring Lewis in. Rather than run their own race on their own strategy, they react to Red Bull. What are you doing? Have the confidence to run the best strategy for your race. But what do? They pit Lewis Hamilton. At the point in time that he was pitted, Verstappen 27 seconds behind. You can't tell whether Verstappen is capable of lapping faster than you or not. In theory, you're on a medium tyre, he's on a hard tyre. There's no reason that he should be starting to all of a sudden set much faster lap times than you. The longer you run, there's a chance of a safety car or a virtual safety car where you can get a cheaper pit stop. They're the ones that have already committed. Keep running. Don't just throw away the advantage you've got. You've bought yourself time with which to make these things. And actually, you were 6 seconds ahead anyway. So unless he closes 6 seconds from that 28, then you're still going to pit and come out in the lead. You've got time with which to assess what's going on. Is that hard compound tyre the better tyre to be on? Can you extend this on your medium for a bit longer? Okay, which would then mean that your hard compound tyres don't have to run as long and therefore you can push harder on them. Have you got a margin to pit and get out ahead of the other Red Bull car? Have you got that? Can you build that up during the lifespan of these tyres? You're 10 seconds ahead of Perez. You should be able to keep going longer than Perez. So let's wait till Perez goes into the pits. Get him out the way so he can't interfere in your race. Don't pit yourself and risk being blocked off by anybody. But what do? Hamilton into the pits. 1 lap later, you're on compound of tyres that should last longer. You've thrown that advantage away. You've thrown that away. Pitted onto hards. What are you doing? And we see him come out behind Perez, and we see then the amount of time he loses. So he comes out 11 seconds behind Perez. And we chunk this through that he then gains that time and Perez holds him up. So this is, you've thrown away every advantage you ever had. Now what you're going to see is, as we go through this, look at those red lines, the soft compound runners. What's happening to the soft compound runners? And what's happening to the medium compound runners? So those that started on yellows, what has happened to them? Have they started pitting yet? Look at the red lines. Of the red lines that started on the soft compound tyre, Mick Schumacher, Ocon, Leclerc, we've got Verstappen, we've got, who else is that one there? Norris. He's now pitted for hards. Which of the medium compound runners have pitted onto hard compound tyres? We've got Giovinazzi, 18th position, medium compound runner, pitted onto onto hards. And he's done so on, I think that was lap 18. So 3 laps after Hamilton, Giovinazzi's pitted onto them. That's the first medium compound runner that's pitted onto hard compound tyres. And at this stage, the only other soft compound runner, because again, we know what Perez is being kept out on track to hold Hamilton up. His tyres are probably shot. The only other soft compound tyre runner still going on them tyres is Sainz. Look at the medium compound runners. Giovinazzi. He's the only one other than Hamilton that's changed. So we continue through. Let's have a look when Sainz actually ends up. Well, Sainz, it seems to be going backwards now. So they pitted him. So Sainz there, they pitted him on about lap 20, ended lap 20. Soft compound runner. That's about the maximum you're going to get out of them. Look at the mediums. Who on medium compound tyres has changed onto hards? You've got Giovinazzi, you've got Hamilton that did it on lap 15. So if you started this race on medium compound tyres, should I say, how far could you have ran? And bearing in mind, Hamilton had 6 seconds over Verstappen. He lost 8 seconds due to Perez. And we're at a point now where he's now 2 seconds. So he should have been 10 seconds ahead. Should have been 10 seconds ahead. I used to say that he's has he come out and let's do it this way. Last lap 1:30 for Hamilton. If we can go back through these lap times, okay. Last lap 1:33. What? That was because he was behind Perez. Okay, even those down at the bottom of the grids are 1:30s, but when he's behind Perez, Hamilton is getting properly nailed. So he's doing a 1:27 until he gets behind Perez, and what's Verstappen doing? 1:29s. You know, this is the nature of this. It's like, what are you doing? Let's go back before the Verstappen pit stop, because we'll look at the lap times. Why are you not monitoring this? Why are you shitting yourself? Why are you reacting? Okay, so up until the pit stop, Hamilton 1:28.5 second lap. 1:28.5. Verstappen 1:29.2. So 1:28.5 is what Hamilton was doing on mediums. So 1:28.5. Now that's going to drop off as their medium compound tyres are going to get worse. 1:28.5. But you need to then see what that drop off is going to be. In those first 10 laps, you can't really monitor the drop off because what you're getting is you're getting a reduced fuel load. So both of these things they work hand in hand with one another. Whilst the tyre is reducing in its lifespan, your fuel load is getting lighter. This is why you've got to understand the data and what it's actually doing. But it's changed onto the hard compound tyres and 1:28, and then he gets up behind Perez and into the 1:30s, 1:34s. That's where he loses all that time. And then back in the lead, he's in the 1:30s, 1:28. What's Verstappen doing? 1:28. So, you look at that, 1:28s are what they're doing it at. What was the point? What was the point in pitting when he did? You could have easily left him there and kept him running. Look at the medium compound runners. Finally, we've got, we're on now lap 24, and we've seen of the medium compound runners, you've got Stroll and Raikkonen now pitted onto hards on lap 24. Perez pitted on lap 20-21. How difficult would it have been to keep Lewis Hamilton running until after Perez pitted? Knowing that Perez was on the softs and that Hamilton was on the mediums, you should have been able to keep Hamilton on track until Perez had pitted and was out of the way and was never going to be an interference. Okay? We didn't know that that's how Perez was going to be used in that race. Could you have predicted that that was a possible scenario? Yes, of course you could have predicted that. Do you want to bring your driver out behind one of your opposition team's drivers if possible? Well, ideally, if you can clear them, then that's what you do. You clear them so you don't put them in that situation. Do your tyres enable you to carry on for longer than them? Yes, they should. So why aren't you? Why are you just reacting to what Red Bull are doing with Verstappen? You're on a different strategy. You should be on a different strategy. You're on mediums, they're on softs. Why are you not running your own race? Why have you shit yourself? Why have you reacted to them? And people go, oh yeah, but what about a safety car? Well, what about a safety car? What about a safety car? If a safety car happens, you're in the lead anyway, right? Oh yeah, but what? You're in the lead by 6 seconds. You've pitted the lap after. Your lead of 6 seconds has gone up to 28 seconds. If a safety car comes out, that lead gets effectively, well, doesn't get more because you pit, but you pit under safety car conditions where he's had to slow down. So you only lose relative that 28 seconds relative to the speed that he's going to have to travel. You probably only lose 14 of it. So you've got a lead of 14 seconds, having changed tyres. Happy days. There's no sense to it. There's no sense to what they did, and they shit themselves. But they do this so frequently that their strategies are shit. They are shit. And I have written to them months ago, back before I realised the bullshit nature of this sport. I thought, well, I could do a better job. Well, I know I could do a better job, but actually, I don't want to work for them because they're fucking full of shit. They're a bullshit company that is lying to you all. Okay, Mercedes are just as bad as every fucking company in Formula One. They're all full of shit. All right, they're all part of the facade. But this is a bullshit strategy. And if you know anything about mathematics, data, anything like that, you'll know what I'm talking about here. I mean, you look at the lap times. Verstappen's last lap, 1:28.175. Hamilton, 1:27.663. Okay, are you telling me that on the medium tyres, Hamilton couldn't be going? I mean, Bottas, we know how much faster Hamilton is over Bottas. 1:29.984 on the mediums. You know, even if Lewis was started to lose, if you kept him running on the mediums, and at the point in time where you're starting to notice a drop off on his lap time, and you're thinking, okay, within 3 laps of this, if we keep going at this level of lap time differential, that 6-second buffer that Hamilton had built up will be eroded within 3 laps. And therefore, when we pit him, it's going to be touch and go as to whether he comes out in the lead or not. That's when you start making your judgment calls. You speak to Lewis. You find out from him, how's the grip on them medium tyres? Okay, how are you feeling? How many more laps do you think you've got left with that level of grip? You speak to your driver, you get the feedback. You work out how much longer can we keep going at this kind of speed, and this speed drop off. If it drops away for a few laps, then for each lap we complete, it's 1 less lap on the other tyres that are going to take us to the end of the race, which is going to be beneficial. Okay, but how many, if Verstappen is lapping at 1.5 seconds a lap faster than Lewis, okay, if it gets to that point with Verstappen on the fresher tyres and Lewis on these mediums that are deteriorating, and it's 1.5 seconds faster for Verstappen, but we know that the pit stop is going to take 20 seconds for him to come in and get back out on track, and he's got a 26-second lead, but it's being eroded by 1.5 seconds a lap. Well, you don't want to leave it any longer than 3 laps, because otherwise you're risking coming out the pits and losing track position. But you can keep him on there for 2 laps and saying, right, keep going, push hard for 2, and we'll get you in, and then you'll still get out ahead of him. Basics. It's basic. You don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist to work that shit out. Basics. You're keeping yourself clear of the danger. You're not reacting to Red Bull's tune. You're running your own race. You're giving yourself a better chance in the later parts of the race. What are you doing? You've not risked getting blocked off by Perez, which lost you 8 seconds. It's just bullshit. So then we go through the race, and again, how far are these medium compound tyre runners running for? And we're going to look at Bottas because he's 3rd in the race. Because, okay, at the slower speeds, are the tyres going to wear as much? If you're putting lap times down in the 1:31s, are them tyres wearing at the same rate as lapping in the 1:28s? Probably not, because you're not putting the same level of force through them. So again, this is based on lack of accurate data, and this is what I'm saying. This is you have to take this as opinion based. I'm using what limited data I have and what limited information I have. And you can only do this accurately when you are party to exactly what was going on. And you need the accurate data to make accurate decisions. But using the generalities that we know, using those generalities that we knew before, because again, with the benefit of hindsight, it's easy for somebody to go through the data and go, oh, you should have done this. Okay, you should, you could. Okay, that was with the benefit of hindsight. I was saying this before it happened. Okay, I was saying this at the time when they pitted him the lap after Verstappen. What are you doing and why are you doing that? You should be able to run longer, and therefore, by running longer, you are meaning you don't have to run as long on your second stint. You can see whether those mediums are still going to be faster than those hards in the first few laps. So actually, you can actually increase that margin. If them mediums are still capable of putting in faster laps than them fresh hard tyres, well, why not use them to do that? Carry on lapping. Why would you throw away that? See what happens. The other runners that are in and around you are on softs. Take them out of the equation altogether. Wait till they've all pitted, and therefore you don't come out behind any other competitors. When you do your pit stop, then it's not a problem. The thing is, it's not as though that you were coming up to lap back markers either. So it wasn't as though back markers were going to slow your lap time down. There was just no reason for it at all. So we're going with Bottas. What are we on now? Lap 27. Bottas in third, still on the medium compound tyre. Still on the medium compound tyre. And they changed Lewis onto the hards on lap 15. It's buffering now. I'd like to be able to chunk this forward much faster, but it's buffering on me. So I'm going to, well, see if we can just keep fast forwarding it. We'll see. But who we got still running on the mediums? Well, Nicholas Latifi, George Russell, and Valtteri Bottas. Them yellow lines which have not yet changed onto hard compound tyres. So how long can we go? How long will they wait till they get onto the change of tyre compound? Now Russell's gone into the pits then. So Russell's gone in on lap 29. Well, it says he's on 26 lap old hard compound tyres, but Lewis, I don't know what's saying that. These numbers within the circles on these bars are telling you how old the tyres are. But Russell there, has he retired? Oh, has he gone into the pits and retired? It doesn't appear to have. Yeah, I think he's retired. So retired on lap 26 on those medium tyres. So what do we have then? We've got Valtteri Bottas running on the medium still. Latifi has changed onto the hard compound tyre now. And that was what, lap 28-ish for Latifi. Bottas is now in the pits, right? Bottas got to lap 30 on medium compound tyres. Merck ran a medium compound tyre for 30 laps on Bottas's car, and you'd assume they'd got a similar setup. Lewis, they ran it for 15 laps. And we know what that did. No, I'm not saying Lewis could have ran for all 30 laps, but he certainly could have gone longer than 15. And even if he'd have extended that to 20, 21, just beyond, because at some point, Perez on then softs would have had to pit. And if you look at these red lines here, Perez was the last soft compound tyre to pit, and that was on lap 21. But he'd performed his job. He'd performed his job by then. And if by lap 20, 18, 19, 20, it was apparent that either Lewis had built up the window to get in and out ahead of Perez, or that Perez's tyres were that bad that there's no point in staying out, because even if Lewis does pit before you, your tyres are that shot you ain't going to be able to keep them behind anyway. they'd have pitted him 18, 19, 20 anyway. So all you had to do was keep Lewis running till about 22, 23, but monitoring the lap times over that period of time to see what they were relative to Max before even doing anything, deciding whether it's worth keeping him out, monitor the situation for a few laps, rather than just shit yourself and react to Red Bull, and you'd have saved all of that. But this is how lame they are. They're absolutely lame, the Mercedes team, for their strategy decisions. And we can go back. I could take you through so many of the Grand Prix where I've seen similar things happen, where you look at their calls and you're like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Properly lame decisions. And these are supposed to be like, you know, proper engineers. They've got no ability to look at a situation unfolding and see it evolve and know what to do within that situation. Use the data, but understand how things are going to unfold and evolve, and what are the things you are considering. It winds me up, because what it does when you want a certain driver to succeed, and you're seeing the choices made by his team limit his chances of success, it's proper annoying. And actually, a lot of the Red Bull strategy calls through a lot of the Grand Prix are far superior, but they seem quite obvious. They really do seem quite obvious. You look at what they're doing, you're like, yeah, that seems good. That's the right thing to do. You're putting the other team under pressure, or you're doing something that's clearly going to work. So why are Mercedes not able to do that? It does feel like self-sabotage at times. Either that, or just fucking gross incompetence. Absolute gross incompetence. But then we saw. Let me see how much this needs to go forward. When we get the virtual safety car, I don't know when that was, because these things pale into insignificance, really. When then Verstappen pits again for another set of hard tyres, and still is not lapping any faster than Lewis is on these hard tyres that they stuck on him on lap 15. And what's going to happen now is that this is just going to buffer on me and just waste even more time, turning what should be a 5-minute video into a 3-hour long video, like all the rest of my videos. No, it's not going to be able to show you this, but as we know, Verstappen gets to pit under virtual safety car, losing less time. Well, where are we? Or maybe actually, looking at this now. The gaps are what, 5 seconds is behind. Same intervals, 5 seconds. He'll obviously lose a lot of that when he does pit under virtual safety. Sorry, he'll lose more than that when he pits under virtual safety car. So it'll be interesting to see how far behind he is when he comes out on track, having pitted. So it'll be interesting to get that interval, and then he'll probably make some of that back by lapping at that bit faster on them new hard compound tyres, which are grippier, obviously. But then it does, when those new hard compound tyres kind of go off the boil, he's out. The lapping times are very similar, despite Hamilton's tyres being that much older. They're still, then they get to a point in the race where they're lapping at similar speeds, despite the fact that Verstappen's tyres are much fresher. So their lap times now 1:27.7s. I think they're not setting the world alight, are they? In terms of, considering we're now 34 laps in, the fuel load has burnt down significantly, and the lap times compared to mediums down to onto now hards, they're not really setting the world alight on lap times. It's not as though you're seeing a huge kind of drop off in the lap, well, increase in performance and faster lap times. I don't even know what lap this. I could do with doing this with a faster internet connection that's just not going to. Slow this down. I'm trying to just chunk this forward at 10 seconds at a time, but it just doesn't want to react very quickly. You can see these dots moving along the bottom of the screen, and they should be going along, chunking forward 10. So there's the virtual safety car. So this is when Verstappen pits. So at that stage, his hard tyres had done 22 laps. Lewis's had done 21 at that point. The interval at that stage is Verstappen is 7 seconds behind, 6.5 now. Okay, that's the kind of interval, again under virtual safety car, that it should be. And then we'll go through the pits. Let's see what it is when they come out of the pits. So it's down to 22, 23. Just went back to 22 again, 22 and a half, 23, 22. You know, it's driving to a delta. You're going to get these fluctuations. It is what it is. Okay, and then so. But that seems to, within virtual safety car ending, 23 and a half seconds. So it's ended, and then it's 18 and a half. Well, he came out the pits 22 and a half seconds behind, and as soon as the virtual safety car has ended, he's 18 and a half seconds. So he's incredibly made 4 seconds up there. And in next to no time, he's down to 16. And then, you know, what you're going to see then is the lap times differential. Last lap 1:26.7, 1:26.1. So on the newer tyres, Verstappen's lapping at 0.6 of a second quicker. Lewis losing some time there, whether he's starting to, well, he is going through back markers, isn't he? So you look there, you've got Vettel, Stroll, Mick Schumacher, Latifi a lap down now. So Lewis is going to go through the back markers, and in doing so, you'll be losing time, and there'll be a time where Max will start then encountering the back markers, and that will impact his lap times. But again, Lewis's lap time 1:26.7, Max's lap time 1:26.3. Wish I could do this in a no, I can't even enlarge this, where you could actually see these numbers. If you could actually see the lap time numbers clearer. If you watch this on a big screen, a bit too late me saying this now, if you watch this on a big screen, you could actually see these lap times. I might have to redo this video because I think it would be better for you to all see it with a better internet connection. And then you could actually see these numbers moving as we progress through the laps and what the lap times are doing. And then, well, look, that in itself gives an explanation as to what Mercedes were doing. I just don't think, well, it's not that I don't think, it was a shit strategy. Really, really poor. And made Lewis's job far more difficult than it ever should have been. So what's going on? What is going on? Toto Wolff, you are the team principal. Why can't you see that your strategists are shit? Are you one of them strategists? What is going on with your decision making? It is piss poor. So, you know, this is it, isn't it? You're just like, if you can't see that, you've got a problem, okay? And you are contributing to your team's lack of lack of success. You've had success, but you've only done so based on engineering excellence as opposed to making strategic calls, which are the best ones. Those are inhibiting your chances of ultimate success through poor strategic calls. So you've only got yourself to blame for that, but you're impacting the chances of Lewis Hamilton. Anyway, that'll do for this one. I might redo this one if I get the time at some point, just because it'd be interesting to go through the different lap times as we go through the race and see what the tyres are doing and how each driver is kind of, how that movement is going between the paces of each car. But we'll see whether I do that or not. There's many other videos that need doing before probably revisiting this one. Anyway, thanks for your time. Cheers.